I was promised to the Alpha King before I ever shifted. My future signed and sealed in blood I hadn't even spilled myself. My parents called it an honor, a blessing on our noble Omega line, and they raised me like a carefully polished offering, every smile practiced, every word measured, every dream shaped to fit a throne I never chose. When I finally stand before Osric, the king I'm meant to marry, he is everything a legend should be. Imposing, beautiful, distant. His hand closes over mine, cold and formal, and my wolf stays silent. No spark, no pull, just the heavy click of a door locking around my life. Then his beta steps forward. Edric's armor is darker, less ceremonial, his gaze sharper than any blade at his hip. He says my name like it's a question only I'm allowed to answer, and something inside me shifts, subtle and terrifying. The bond doesn't roar. It hums through shared glances in council, quiet jokes in shadowed corridors, the accidental brush of fingers that lingers a heartbeat too long. Now the wedding date looms. My family is celebrating, and I'm standing on a knife's edge between the king I was promised to and the beta my heart is quietly choosing. The first thing I notice about the royal stronghold of Blackmoon is how small it makes my family look. Stone walls rise like carved mountains, banners snapping in the wind, silver wolves on a field of deep midnight blue. My mother straightens her spine as if sheer posture can make us taller, more worthy of the place we're walking into. "Chin up, Morwenna," she murmurs, fingers fussing with the neckline of my gown for the 20th time. The first impression is everything. "It's already been made," I say under my breath. "We're 3 hours late." Her hand tightens just enough on my shoulder to be a warning. "The Alpha King requested your arrival after sunset. We are perfectly on time." Smile. I arrange my face into the expression I've worn my whole life, serene, pleasant, harmless. My younger brother nudges me from behind, barely hiding his smirk. "You look like you're going to your execution," he whispers. "Maybe I am," I whisper back. My father doesn't turn around, but I see his shoulders stiffen. "Enough," he says quietly. "We are guests here, and more than that, this alliance is our legacy." Right, legacy. The word they've wrapped around my throat since I was old enough to understand what betrothed meant. 2 guards push open the towering doors to the great hall, and sound rushes over us, low conversation, clinking goblets, the distant echo of music. Torchlight glows against stone and gold, making everything look warmer than it feels. A herald announces our names, our titles, our pack. My mother's hand settles on my back, guiding me forward like I'm a prized mare being led into auction. At the far end of the hall, on a raised dais, he waits. Alpha King Osric is exactly what the stories promised. Tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in silver armor that catches every flicker of firelight. His hair is dark and long, falling in loose waves over his shoulders. His crown is a circlet of intertwined silver and onyx, sharp and elegant. His face is all angles and restraint, handsome in a way that feels almost inhuman. I search for some spark in myself as we approach him. Awe, fear, attraction, anything. All I feel is my heartbeat, steady and unimpressed. We stop at the base of the dais. My family bows. I curtsy, my skirt pooling like spilled moonlight around my feet. When I straighten, Osric is already descending the steps, eyes fixed on me. "Morwenna of House Aeron," he says. His voice is smooth, low, the kind that could command armies without ever needing to rise. "Welcome to Blackmoon." He takes my hand. His palm is warm through my glove, but the warmth doesn't reach me. No current races up my arm. No wolf inside me rears with recognition. The contact is precise, formal, held just long enough to be polite. "Your Majesty," I say. "Thank you for receiving us. Our agreement has been long in the making," he replies. "It is only right that it begins properly. Agreement, not betrothal, not union. Agreement." My wolf shifts uneasily. Not with desire, but with the faintest prickle of warning. Osric releases my hand and turns to greet my parents. They glow under his attention. My mother laughs at something he says. My father answers with a compliment that sounds suspiciously rehearsed. I stand there, folded hands, practiced smile, feeling like a painting hung in the wrong room. "And this is my son, Corin," my father says, pushing my brother forward. "He looks forward to serving your court in any capacity." "I do?" Corin mutters, then pastes on a grin. Osric nods, gracious but distant. His gaze returns to me only when protocol requires it, never lingering long enough to feel personal. I watch him the way I was trained to watch powerful men, assessing how he moves, how he listens, where his attention naturally goes. It doesn't go to me. A voice clears quietly to our right. Your Majesty. Osric shifts slightly. Ah. Morwenna. Allow me to present my beta. Edric of the Iron Pine line. I turn, and the hall sharpens into focus. Where Osric gleams in polished silver, Edric wears shadow. His armor is dark leather and steel, molded to broad shoulders and a lean, powerful frame. There is no crown on his head, no ornament beyond a simple belt and the golden wolf sigil at his hip. His hair is shorter than the king's, dark as well but messier, as if he ran a hand through it and didn't bother to fix what it left behind. It's his eyes that catch me. Not their color storm gray with a hint of blue, but the way they take me in. Not a glance, not a quick evaluation of value, but a slow, measuring look that lands on my face and stays there, as if he's actually curious what I'll do with his attention. Lady Morwenna, he says. His voice is rougher than Osric's, less polished, threaded with something that sounds dangerously like amusement. Welcome. The flutter in my chest is small, almost insignificant. A single wing beat. I crush it immediately. Thank you, I reply. My tone is perfectly courteous. My fingers, hidden in the folds of my gown, curl into my palm. Osric's gaze flicks between us, unreadable. Edric oversees many of the court's daily operations, he says. If you need anything while you adjust, you will speak with him. Of course I will. A privilege, Edric says. I'll do my best not to fail her. There's a hint of something in his words, dry humor, maybe, or quiet rebellion, but I'm not foolish enough to examine it closely here. Not with half the hall watching the king's future, Luna. Servants arrive to escort us to our rooms, and the formal introduction dissolves into logistics. As we follow them out, I feel Edric's gaze graze the back of my neck. It's not possessive. It's not even warm. It's simply aware. My mother links her arm through mine as soon as we're out of earshot. Well, she breathes. Is he everything you imagined? I think of Osric's hand wrapped around mine like a contract, his polite eyes skimming over me as if ticking a box on a checklist. Yes, I say. Exactly. She hears what she wants to hear and beams. Our guest wing is luxurious, all carved wood and rich tapestries. Once my father and brother disappear to their respective rooms, my mother turns her full attention on me again, adjusting jewelry, smoothing fabric, planning out loud. The welcome feast begins in an hour. You'll wear the blue silk. It compliments your eyes. Remember to smile, laugh when he says something even mildly humorous. Don't drink more than 1 glass of wine. And for the love of the moon, don't bring up your ideas, my ideas. Your questions, she corrects. Save those for later. Men don't like being challenged in public. Maybe I should get used to the idea, I say lightly, if I'm going to marry one. She doesn't catch the edge in my voice. Exactly. See? You understand. I understand that this is a performance, and I am the lead actress whether I like the script or not. By the time we enter the great hall again, it's been transformed. Long tables groan under the weight of roasted meats, fresh bread, gilded goblets. Musicians play in a corner, their melody bright and unobtrusive. Wolves from different packs mingle, their scents layered over one another until the air hums with contained dominance. Osric sits at the head table, posture perfect, expression calm. The chair beside him, my future seat, is empty. A guard leads me there. My parents take their places farther down. Osric rises as I approach, offers me that same efficient smile. Morwenna, Your Majesty. He pulls out my chair himself, which is unexpectedly courteous. Once I'm seated, he returns to his own and begins speaking with the Alpha to his other side about border patrols, trade routes, treaties, important things. Things I have spent years studying so I might someday be useful. He doesn't ask my opinion. He doesn't ask me anything. I sip my wine, answer polite questions from neighboring nobles, and count the number of times Osric looks directly at me. 3. All of them brief. All of them followed by his attention sliding away as if by habit. Halfway through the meal, a familiar voice speaks just behind my shoulder. Your Majesty, Lady Morwenna, forgive the interruption. Osric nods. Edric? Report? Patrols are in place. The outer gates are secure. A pause. I wanted to ensure our guests are comfortable. I turn slightly, enough to see him. Edric stands a respectful distance away, but there's nothing deferential in the way he holds himself. He's relaxed, balanced on the balls of his feet, like he's ready to move the second he's needed. We are very comfortable, I say before Osric can respond. Your home is impressive. It's the king's home, Edric replies. I just try not to break anything. The corner of my mouth lifts, surprised. Is that a common problem? You'd be amazed what visiting alphas can do to a corridor when they argue, he says. Walls, doorways, unfortunate vases. Osric hums, barely amused, already returning to his conversation with the neighboring alpha. Edric's attention, however, stays with me. Have you had a chance to see the training grounds? He asks. Not yet, I admit. I arrived and went straight into ceremony. If you're interested, I can show you tomorrow, he offers. It's where the real work happens, regardless of how shiny the armor looks up here. His tone is casual, but the invitation feels anything but. No one has asked me what I'm interested in since we arrived. They've assumed, assigned, arranged. What if I am interested in shiny armor? I tease, because it's safer than sounding eager. Then you're talking to the wrong wolf, he says, glancing pointedly at Osric's polished breastplate. I prefer mine functional. I shouldn't laugh. It's not an appropriate reaction for a future Luna at her betrothal feast. But the sound escapes me anyway, soft and startled. Edric's eyes warm, just a fraction, like I've passed some invisible test. I'd like to see the grounds, I say quietly. If your schedule allows. For you, my lady, I can find an hour. His gaze lingers on my face for a heartbeat longer than necessary. Good evening. He fades back into the crowd as smoothly as he appeared, drawn away by duty. I watch him go, my wolf alert, ears pricked in curiosity. Beside me, Osric continues discussing numbers and patrol rotations. He doesn't ask what Edric and I spoke about. He doesn't seem to care. A suspicion, small and unwelcome, settles in my chest, right beneath the place that fluttered when Edric looked at me. Something is wrong, I think, and for the first time, I can't convince myself it will simply get better with time. By the end of the first week, I know the names of every member of Osric's inner council, the precise ranking of each allied pack, and exactly how many steps it takes to walk from my chambers to the Great Hall without appearing out of breath in heeled boots. I do not know what the Alpha King's real laugh sounds like. Your lessons are progressing well, Osric says one afternoon, as we walk side by side through a sunlit corridor lined with portraits of long-dead rulers. Your understanding of protocol will reflect well on both our houses. It sounds like praise. It feels like a performance review. Thank you, Your Majesty, I answer. I had good teachers. He inclines his head, already looking ahead to where an advisor waits with a stack of documents. I could tell him that I spent years studying battle formations and trade routes because I wanted to be a partner, not a decoration. I could mention the proposal tucked in my mind for restructuring border patrol rotations. But he has never asked what I want to contribute, only if I understand what is expected. Our daily conversations are like this: smooth, polite, shallow. We discuss guest lists, ceremonial duties, projected harvest yields. He is never unkind, never impatient, simply absent. Like he is standing in a room made of glass, while the rest of us press our faces to the outside, misting up the barrier, never allowed in. In the evenings, my mother sends letters back home filled with exclamation marks and breathless descriptions of how well-matched we seem. I read them and wonder who she is writing about. If my days belonged only to Osric, I might have eventually convinced myself this emptiness was normal. That respect without warmth was the best a political marriage could hope for. But my days do not belong only to him. They also belong, more and more, to Edric. It starts with the training grounds. True to his word, he finds an hour for me the very next morning. When I step out into the pale strip of courtyard between the barracks and the practice field, he is already there, sleeves rolled, watching two younger warriors spar. He looks different without the full weight of armor, still lethal, still commanding, but somehow more real. Less statue, more man. His dark hair is damp at the edges as if he's just finished his own drills. Morwenna, he says when he spots me, and something inside me relaxes at the sound of my name without title. Good. You're not the type to send a polite refusal at the last minute. I considered it, I admit. But then I remembered you promised functional armor and broken vases. He grins, quick and sharp. I did, didn't I? Come. He walks me through the layout of the grounds, training rings, weapons racks, the archery range at the far edge. He introduces me to warriors by name, not rank. and they look me in the eye rather than over my head. When I ask questions, no one seems surprised. And these? I ask, nodding to the small cluster of Omegas practicing defensive maneuvers near a chalked circle. Personal guards for high-ranking families, he says. Omegas move differently, lower center of gravity, more flexible. You can use that against a larger opponent. You talk like you've done it. I have. His mouth curves. More than once. There's a story there, lingering at the edges, but he doesn't push it on me. He waits to see if I'll ask. When I don't, he lets the silence settle comfortably between us. Later, he shows me the watchtower overlooking the eastern forest. We climb the narrow stone steps in companionable quiet, the air growing cooler with each turn. At the top, the whole territory spreads below us, rolling hills, clustered villages, the dark line of trees marking the border. Beautiful, I breathe. Efficient, he corrects lightly. Natural choke points, defensible ridges, clear sightlines. I glance at him. Do you ever stop thinking like a soldier? Do you ever stop thinking like a diplomat? He counters. I want to say yes. I don't. Instead, I lean on the rough stone parapet and let the wind pull strands of hair from my braid. Osric says the eastern border is the most vulnerable. It was, Edric says. We adjusted patrol patterns last winter. Fewer incidents since. What did you change? He hesitates, then shifts closer so we can both see the same stretch of land. We were sending out large units at predictable intervals, intimidating, but easy to track. I broke them into smaller, overlapping groups, less impressive, more effective. If you're trying to catch a shadow, you don't chase it with a parade. His eyes gleam when he explains, alive in a way I've never seen at the council table. Without meaning to, I start probing. And the villagers? I ask. Did they feel abandoned with fewer visible patrols? He looks at me with something like surprise, then satisfaction. At first, he admits, so we increased our presence inside the villages, helped with repairs, shared meals, listened. When people feel seen, they worry less about what they can't see. Is that your strategy for everything? And what's that? Making people feel seen. For a heartbeat, something raw flashes across his face. Then he clears his throat. I don't know. You tell me. I drop my gaze back to the land, unsettled. It's easier to talk theory than feelings, so we do. We spend the rest of the hour dissecting patrol routes and power balances, moving from borders to trade caravans, to the delicate dance of keeping neighboring packs friendly without appearing weak. He asks what I would change if I had authority. I hesitate, then tell him. All of it. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't patronize. He listens, eyes bright, head tilted, his attention a steady, warm weight. By the time I return to the castle, my mind is buzzing. Not with the thrill of flirtation, but with the rarer intoxication of being taken seriously. That should have been my first warning. The weeks that follow fall into a pattern. Mornings with Osric and his council, formal briefings, reports, ceremonial appearances. Afternoons or evenings, more often than not, with Edric touring villages, watching drills, reviewing ledgers. Officially, he's helping me understand pack operations, so I'll be prepared for my role. Unofficially, he is the only one in this palace who ever asks, "What do you think?" and waits for a real answer. I discover he's infuriatingly competent. He knows the name of the baker's youngest daughter and the exact year a distant village's well began to fail. He remembers promises made months before and quietly fulfills them without fanfare. When a training accident leaves a young warrior with a sprained wrist, Edric is the one who personally escorts him to the healer, making an easy joke to cut through the embarrassment. "Why aren't you an alpha?" I ask him one day, as we ride side by side toward a small outlying settlement. He arches a brow. Is that an insult or a compliment? A question. He thinks for a moment, reins loose in one hand, the other resting on the saddle horn. "I didn't want the throne," he says finally. "I wanted influence. There's a difference. Most people pretend there isn't. I'm not most people. No, he's not." I file that away, along with the way his mouth quirks when he's suppressing a smile, and how his gaze always seems to find me in a room, as if checking I'm still there. Osric, for his part, remains impeccably courteous. He ensures my family is honored, that I am introduced to the right people, that my public image gleams. In council meetings, he occasionally asks if I have anything to add, usually after opinions have already been formed. When I do speak, he nods, thanks me, and moves on. There is nothing to complain about. Nothing to point to and say, "Here, this is cruel, this is wrong." Yet some nights, lying in the enormous bed in my equally enormous chamber, I stare at the canopy and feel like I'm suffocating under invisible hands. The realization, when it comes, isn't a bolt of lightning. It's a slow dripping of moments that finally overflow. One evening, Edric and I are in the war room, the rest of the council dismissed. Osric left early to handle a messenger from the northern Pax, leaving us with a spread of maps and half-finished notes. "Border tensions here," Edric says, tapping a spot near the western ridge. "We've had more reports of poachers crossing over. Nothing serious yet, but it could escalate if we ignore it." I lean over the table beside him, the parchment crackling softly under my hands. "If you respond with force, you risk turning opportunists into enemies," I say. "But if you let it slide, you invite worse." "Exactly." His shoulder brushes mine as he shifts. "Thoughts?" "Shared patrols," I say without thinking. "Invite the neighboring pack to send a small unit to join your own. It shows respect, reinforces the boundary, and gives both sides eyes on the same problem." He looks at me, really looks, and his whole face lights up. "Yes," he says slowly. "That could work. They can't accuse us of encroaching if they're literally walking the line with us." The warmth in his gaze hits harder than praise from any counsel. It feels like the sun breaking through winter clouds, startling and blinding. Then he smiles. A real smile this time, not the controlled half-curves he offers superiors. It's wide and a little crooked, softening the sharpness of his features. "You know," he says, "I think the kingdom might survive you after all." I laugh, the sound escaping before I can temper it. High praise. "It is, actually." His eyes crinkle at the corners. "You have no idea how many nobles I've endured who can barely read a map, much less improve a strategy." The compliment lands low and deep, in the place that has been starved for acknowledgement. My cheeks heat. I look back down at the parchment to hide it. We reach for the same quill at the same time. His fingers brush the back of my hand. It's nothing. Bare skin against bare skin for the span of a heartbeat. No electric shock, no blinding vision, just solid human contact. And yet heat flares instantly under my skin, rushing up my arm, spreading through my chest like spilled fire. My breath catches. The room narrows to the precise point where our hands touch. I jerk back as if burned. "Sorry," I say too quickly. Edric stills. For a moment, neither of us moves. His gaze drops to my hand, then rises to my face. There's a question in his eyes. Something like concern and something like understanding, as if he's been waiting for this without daring to name it. "It's fine," he murmurs. His voice is quieter than usual, rougher. "No harm done." He gives me space after that, stepping back just far enough that the air between us cools. We finish the notes with a careful distance that wasn't there before. Our conversation slips back into safe territory, but an undercurrent hums beneath every word. When I finally retreat to my chambers, my pulse hasn't yet slowed. I shut the door and lean against it, palms pressed to the wood, eyes closed. "It's just attraction," I whisper to the empty room. A reaction. Nothing more. My wolf, curled inside me, lifts her head. She does not agree. All night, memories loop behind my eyes. Osric's hand closing over mine on the day we arrived, my wolf silent and still. Edric's fingers ghosting over my skin hours ago, my entire body answering like a plucked string. I remember how Osric's gaze slides past me in council, how he speaks to me as if I'm already carved into the shape he requires. I remember how Edric listens when I argue, how he looks almost delighted when I disagree with him and manage to change his mind. This is wrong, I tell myself. It's disloyal, dangerous, foolish. I am promised to the king. Edric is his second. Every moment I spend with him is sanctioned by duty, not desire. And yet desire is there now, a quiet, insistent drumbeat beneath the surface. I roll onto my side, pressing my face into the pillow, willing the feeling away. I list every reason this is temporary: new environment, relief at finding someone who treats me as an equal, the simple fact that he is objectively attractive and I am not blind. It's just attraction, I repeat. It will fade. My wolf laughs. The sound is not cruel, but it is merciless. She has been patient, letting me pretend our life was a straight line drawn from cradle to throne. Tonight, she finally sinks her claws into the truth I've been avoiding. We are developing feelings for the wrong man. The realization settles, heavy and undeniable, in the space between my lungs. It steals my breath more effectively than any physical blow. I stare into the dark and understand, with a clarity that makes my stomach twist, that the real danger in this castle is not poison or politics or enemies at the border. The real danger is the way my heart has started to lean quietly, inexorably toward the one wolf I was never meant to choose. The bond doesn't announce itself with trumpets or sacred visions. It arrives in whispers, in sensations I can't explain away no matter how hard I try. It starts the morning after I admit the truth to myself. I wake with an unfamiliar restlessness thrumming under my skin, my wolf pacing circles inside me like she's lost something vital and can't remember where she left it. I dress, attend breakfast with my family, smile through my mother's excited chatter about wedding gown fabrics. Then Edric walks into the hall. My wolf goes still. Not calm, alert. Every sense sharpens. I can hear his boots on stone from across the room, feel the shift in air pressure when he moves. And beneath that, something deeper. A low hum of emotion that isn't mine but somehow registers anyway. Exhaustion threaded with determination, worry smoothed over with focus. I shouldn't be able to feel any of that. He glances my way, offers a polite nod meant for the whole table, and moves on to speak with Osric's captain. The moment he turns, my wolf whines a soft, plaintive sound that no one else can hear but that resonates through my entire body. No, I think desperately. Not this. Not him. But denial doesn't change what's happening. Over the next days, the signs multiply. When Edric enters a room, I know before I see him. Some internal alarm trips, a magnetic pull that turns my head before my mind catches up. When he leaves, the air feels thinner, like something essential has been removed. I catch his scent everywhere, now wood smoke and steel, pine and something darker, earthier. It clings to the war room after he's gone, lingers in corridors he walked through hours before. My wolf tracks it obsessively, a hunter following invisible trails. Worse, I start sensing his moods. When he's frustrated during council meetings, tension coils in my own shoulders. When he's pleased, rare, fleeting warmth blooms under my ribs like I've swallowed sunlight. It's intrusive and undeniable, this unwanted intimacy. I avoid him for 3 days. It doesn't help. Distance only makes my wolf more agitated, pacing and snarling, furious at my stubbornness. By the 4th day, I'm so on edge that my mother asks if I'm ill. Osric, predictably, notices nothing. The pack celebration arrives like a merciful distraction. It's meant to honor the autumn equinox, an old tradition, half ritual and half excuse to eat and drink and dance under the stars. The great hall is transformed with garlands of gold and crimson leaves, tables laden with roasted game and honey cakes. Musicians play lively reels that shake the rafters. I wear deep green silk that my mother selected, my hair braided with gold thread. Osric meets me at the entrance, offers his arm, and leads me to the high table with all the warmth of a man escorting a visiting dignitary. "You look well," he says. "Thank you, Your Majesty." "The celebrations should conclude by midnight," he continues. "I have an early meeting with the northern emissaries tomorrow." Of course he does. We sit. We're served. Around us, wolves laugh and shout toasts and challenge each other to contests of strength. Osric engages in polite conversation with the alphas seated nearby, his attention flicking to me only when protocol demands it. An hour in, he stands. "The first dance is customary," he says, extending his hand. I take it because I must. The musicians shift to something slower, more formal. Osric leads me onto the floor with the confidence of someone who has done this 1,000 times and will do it 1,000 more without ever feeling a thing. His hand rests lightly at my waist, his other hand holding mine with precise, distant courtesy. We move through the steps. He doesn't look at me, his gaze drifts over my shoulder, already half focused on whatever political calculation is running through his mind. I follow his lead flawlessly, because I was trained for this too. When the song ends, he releases me immediately. "Duty satisfied," he murmurs, more to himself than to me. "Excuse me, there's a matter I need to discuss with Alpha Thorn." He walks away. I stand there in the middle of the floor, surrounded by couples still swaying, and feel the weight of every watching eye. My mother beams from the high table, oblivious. My father raises his goblet in approval. I want to scream. Instead, I turn to leave the floor and nearly collide with Edric. "Easy," he says, steadying me with a hand at my elbow. His touch is brief but sure, and heat flares where his fingers press through silk. "I wasn't watching where I was going," I say, too quickly. "Neither was I." His eyes search my face, and I realize he's been watching me longer than I thought. "Are you all right?" Fine. The lie tastes bitter. He doesn't believe me. I can feel his skepticism like a low vibration in the air between us, humming just under my skin. His jaw tightens. And I know I times no times he's angry on my behalf, even if he'll never say it out loud. Dance with me, he says. It's not a question, but it's not a command either. It's an offer, extended with the kind of careful hope that makes my chest ache. I should refuse. I should return to the high table, sit beside the empty chair Osric abandoned, and play the role of the gracious future Luna. All right, I hear myself say. His hand finds mine. His other hand settles at my waist, and the world narrows. The musicians are playing something softer now, a melody that winds through the hall like a secret. Edric moves with the kind of easy confidence that comes from actual skill rather than rote memorization. He doesn't lead me like I'm a chess piece. He leads me like I'm his partner. Better? He asks quietly. Better, I admit. We don't speak for a while. We just move, turning in slow circles, our bodies finding a rhythm that feels alarmingly natural. I'm aware of everything: the warmth of his palm against my back, the faint calluses on his fingers, the way his thumb brushes the curve of my waist almost absently, like he doesn't realize he's doing it. When I breathe in, I catch his scent, and my wolf sighs. A bone-deep sound of relief and rightness that makes my knees weak. You're tense, he murmurs. I'm always tense. Not like this. His eyes meet mine, storm gray and far too perceptive. What's wrong? Everything, I think. You, me. This bond I didn't ask for, pulling me toward you when I'm supposed to belong to someone else. Asterisk. Nothing I can fix, I say instead. His hand tightens just slightly at my waist. Not possessive, but anchoring. Try me. The sincerity in his voice undoes something inside me. Before I can think better of it, I'm talking. I feel like a decoration, I whisper. Something to be displayed at appropriate intervals and then put back on the shelf until needed again. Edric's expression darkens. Osric. He's not cruel, I say quickly, defensive despite myself. He's just not interested. Not in me as a person, only in what I represent. That's not good enough. It's what I agreed to. You were a child when that agreement was made. His voice is low, almost harsh. You're not a decoration, Morwenna. You're... He stops himself, jaw clenching hard enough that I can see the muscle jump. I'm what? I ask, barely breathing. He looks at me for a long moment, something raw and unguarded flickering across his face. Then he schools his expression back into careful neutrality. You're worth more than that, he says finally. You deserve to be seen. The words land like stones dropped into still water, rippling outward, disturbing everything. I don't know what to say. My throat is tight, my pulse loud in my ears. Around us, other couples spin and laugh, oblivious to the small, catastrophic moment happening in their midst. The song ends. We should separate. Neither of us moves. Morwenna, he says, and the way he says my name, rough and careful and full of things he's not saying, makes my wolf keen. Don't, I whisper. Don't what? Don't look at me like that. His hand is still at my waist. Mine is still in his. Like what? Like I'm something you want. The words hang between us, dangerous and true. Edric's eyes darken, his fingers flexing against my spine. And if I do? He asks quietly. My heart stops, restarts, races. Before I can answer, before I do something reckless and unforgivable, I pull away. His hands fall slowly, reluctantly, releasing me inch by inch. Thank you for the dance, I manage. I don't wait for his response. I turn and walk quickly toward the nearest exit, my skirt swishing, my pulse a riot. Behind me, I feel his gaze like a physical weight, tracking me across the room. I slip out into the gardens. The night air is cool and sharp, a relief after the stifling heat of the hall. I lean against the stone wall, pressing my palms flat against the cold surface, trying to steady myself. This is a mistake, I think. You're making a terrible mistake, but when I close my eyes, all I feel is the phantom warmth of his hand at my waist, the way my wolf settled the moment he touched me, like finally coming home. Morwenna, I spin. For one wild, terrifying second, I think it's Edric. But it's not. It's Lyra, my lady-in-waiting and the closest thing I have to a friend in this place. She's a distant cousin from a lesser noble house, sent to serve me and keep me company. Her expression is equal parts concern and exasperation. What are you doing out here? She asks, breathing. She steps closer, her sharp eyes scanning my face. You left in a hurry. I needed air. You needed distance, she corrects. From him. I don't insult her intelligence by pretending not to understand. Lyra, I've been watching, she says quietly. I see the way you look at each other. The way he finds excuses to be near you. The way you light up when he walks into a room. Shame burns through me. It's not, don't lie to me. Her voice is gentle but firm. I'm not judging. I'm warning. I close my eyes. I know. Do you? She moves closer, lowering her voice. Do you understand what this could cost? Your family's alliance, your reputation, the peace your marriage is supposed to secure? If anyone else notices what I've noticed, I know, I say again, sharper this time. Do you think I don't know? Lyra's expression softens. Then why do you keep letting it happen? I'm not letting anything happen. My voice cracks. I'm trying to stop it, but every time I pull away, it gets worse. He's under my skin, Lyra. I can feel him even when he's not there. I don't know how to make it stop. Understanding flashes across her face. Oh, she breathes. Oh no. Morwenna? Is it? I think it's the bond, I whisper. The mate bond. The sacred, unbreakable connection that the moon herself is supposed to forge between destined pairs. The bond that should have formed with Osric, the man I'm betrothed to, and instead is wrapping itself around the one wolf in this entire kingdom I have no right to claim. Lyra sinks onto the stone bench, her face pale. What are you going to do? I don't know. I press the heels of my hands against my eyes. Ignore it, bury it, marry Osric and spend the rest of my life pretending. Can you do that? I think of decades stretching ahead, sleeping beside a man who sees me as a political asset while my soul screams for someone else. I think of watching Edric from across council rooms, forever close and forever untouchable. I have to, I say. Lyra stands, crossing to me. She takes my hands, her grip firm and grounding. Listen to me, she says. I will support you no matter what you choose. But if you're going to walk away from this bond, you need to do it now, cleanly, before it gets any stronger. And if I can't, her eyes are sad and knowing, then you need to decide what you're willing to lose. Because Morwenna, you can't have both. The bond doesn't care about politics. It doesn't compromise. I nod, even though every cell in my body rebels at the thought of walking away from Edric, of never feeling that rightness again, that sense of being truly, holy time seen asterisk. I'll figure it out. I lie. Lyra doesn't believe me, but she's kind enough not to say so. We return to the hall together. The celebration continues, bright and heedless. I rejoin my family at the high table. Osric returns eventually, distracted and satisfied with whatever political maneuvering he accomplished. Across the room, Edric stands near the far wall, a goblet in his hand, his eyes on me. The bond hums between us, a live wire neither of us knows how to sever, and my heart, traitorous and stubborn, refuses to listen to reason. My mother arrives like a small, determined storm. One moment the castle is its usual hum of disciplined order. The next it's flooded with Aeron colors and voices, my mother directing servants, my father clasping shoulders, my younger siblings darting between them like excited pups. For a brief, foolish moment, seeing them all, I feel something close to relief. Then my mother's gaze lands on me. "Oh, look at you," she breathes, sweeping me into a hug that smells like home and lavender oil. She pulls back and immediately starts adjusting me, smoothing my hair, pinching my cheeks for color, tugging at the bodice of my dress. "You're glowing, Morwenna. I knew this place would suit you." "I'm managing," I say. "Managing?" She tisks. "You're about to be queen. You don't manage, you flourish." She doesn't wait for a reply before linking her arm through mine and steering me down the corridor. "Now tell me everything. How is the Alpha King? Has he been attentive? Respectful? Have you discussed possible dates?" "Dates," I repeat faintly. "For the wedding, darling." She laughs, delighted with herself. "Your father and I have been trying to guess when he'll make the announcement." I say winter solstice. It's dramatic. Your father thinks he'll choose spring new beginnings and all that nonsense. "I don't know yet," I say carefully. "We haven't said anything." Her grip tightens. "You mean he hasn't asked?" "We've both been busy. There's been council business, border. Morwenna." Her voice softens, but there's steel underneath. "This is important. Alliances weaken when they're left undefined. You must encourage him to move forward. Be warm, be receptive. Men don't always see what's right in front of them. You have to guide them, manipulate them, make them think your idea was theirs. I've heard all of this before. I'll keep that in mind, I say. Good girl. She pats my hand, already satisfied. We'll talk more later. For now, your father wants a word. My father waits for me in a quiet sitting room off the guest wing, hands clasped behind his back as he studies a painting on the wall. He turns when I enter, his face breaking into a smile that is softer than my mother's, but no less expectant. There she is, he says. My future queen. Not yet, I remind him. Soon enough. He gestures for me to sit, then remains standing, too full of energy to be still. I've been speaking with Osric. He holds you in high regard, Morwenna. Says you're adapting quickly, learning well. We couldn't be prouder. Something twists in my chest. He said that? He did. Pride warms his voice. This marriage, this bond between our families and his, it's more than we ever hoped for. Our line will be tied to the throne for generations. Your children will inherit a legacy of strength and stability. You've secured that for us. I bite the inside of my cheek. I want to tell him I haven't secured anything yet, that no vows have been spoken, no promises made beyond old ink on older parchment. I want to tell him about the way my wolf stirs for someone else entirely. Instead, I ask, and if I'm not ready? He blinks, surprised. Not ready? For the wedding. For everything. He laughs, as if I've made a charming joke. No one is ever truly ready for their destiny, Morwenna. We grow into it, you'll see. He pats my shoulder and leaves before I can argue. The conversation closed in his mind. My doubts are a minor tremor, easily dismissed in the face of his unshakable faith in the path laid out for me. The pressure settles heavier after that. My mother fills her days with wedding talk, guest lists, flower choices, which seamstress in the capital is best for royal gowns. She drops hints at every formal dinner, every walk through the gardens, every chance encounter with Osric. You two make such a striking pair, she tells him one afternoon in the courtyard, her smile bright and sharpened at the edges. I can already picture the ceremony. The kingdom will celebrate for weeks. Osric smiles politely. I'm sure whatever you arrange will be appropriate, Lady Aeron. Appropriate, not joyful, not anticipated. Appropriate. Still, he doesn't contradict her, doesn't say no. That, apparently, is enough to send my mother into another round of delighted planning. Meanwhile, the bond with Edric coils tighter around my ribs. I try to stay away from him. I avoid the training grounds, ask Lyra to deliver messages that would normally require my presence, claim headaches to excuse myself from joint inspections. But duty has its own gravity. As the king's future Luna, I'm expected at strategy briefings, seasonal planning meetings, village tours, and Edric is at all of them. He seems to sense what I'm doing. He keeps his distance in public, speaks to me only when necessary, addresses me by title more often than by name. On the surface, he's the perfect beta, respectful, controlled, loyal. Underneath, the bond hums like a restrained storm. In council, when he's frustrated, my own jaw tightens. When he shares a rare joke with another officer, a little flare of pleased warmth brushes my consciousness. It's maddening, feeling him so clearly while pretending I don't. So I do what my parents taught me. I double down on the role I'm expected to play. I seek Osric out more often, knocking on the door of his study under the pretense of wanting to learn. I offer to accompany him on inspections. I ask about his duties, his plans for the winter solstice. He is always courteous. He is never present. One evening, I catch him between meetings, alone in the small library that adjoins the council chamber. He's reading a report, brow furrowed, a candle casting shadows across his sharp features. Your Majesty, I say, stepping inside. He looks up. Morwenna, is something wrong? No. I force a smile. I just realized we haven't had much time to talk lately. Alone, he sets the report aside. We've both been occupied. Yes, but I twine my fingers together to keep from fidgeting. My parents are asking about a wedding date. It would help if I could tell them what you're thinking. He leans back in his chair, expression thoughtful but detached. There are several factors to consider. The harvest, the ongoing negotiations with the northern pacts, the solstice convening. Of course, I say quickly. I didn't mean to rush you. Winter would be politically advantageous, he continues. Symbolically strong, but spring might allow for more elaborate celebrations. which your mother seems to value. He says it without malice, merely an observation. I still feel the sting of it. And personally, I ask, what do you want? He looks almost surprised by the question. Then he offers a faint, distant smile. It matters more what is best for the kingdom, he says. And for our families. My personal preferences are secondary. He doesn't say irrelevant, but I hear it anyway. I would like to know the man I'm going to marry, I say softly. Beyond his policies. Something flickers in his eyes, regret maybe? Weariness? It's gone too quickly to be sure. I'm not opposed to spending more time together, he says. We can arrange regular walks, public ones, of course. It will reassure the court. Reassure them of what? That we can occupy the same space without sparks? That I can pretend the bond pulling me towards someone else doesn't exist? Thank you, I say. I'd like that. He nods, already reaching for his abandoned report. The conversation is over. Later that night, I pass by the council antechamber and hear voices low, casual, not meant for my ears. I should keep walking. Instead, I pause in the shadows near the half-open door. When will you set the date? An advisor is asking. The visiting alphas are starting to speculate. When it suits our strategic needs, Osric replies. His tone is even. The timing must balance internal stability with the external message we wish to send. And, personally, another voice teases, do you not wish to enjoy the, benefits of marriage sooner rather than later? A faint rustle, as if Osric shrugged. I have everything I require as things are. The marriage is strategically necessary. I don't intend to let it interfere with my personal life more than it must. Laughter, agreement. Someone makes a crude joke about noble brides and their expectations. I don't hear the rest. I walk away on numb legs, my heartbeat roaring in my ears. Strategically necessary. No intention of letting it interfere with his personal life. I am not a partner in his mind. I am a maneuver. By the time I reach the gardens, my vision is blurring. I find the same stone bench I fled to after the celebration, and I sit hard, hands shaking in my lap. I don't sob. I don't have enough air left for it. The tears fall silently, hot and relentless, dripping onto my skirts. I thought I understood what I was agreeing to, a marriage of duty, not passion. I thought I could live with respect instead of love. I didn't realize he wouldn't even offer times much of himself, that he would ensure our union touched his life as little as possible. You deserve to be seen, Edric said. Right now I feel invisible. Morwenna? I go still. Of course it's him. Of course the one person I'm trying to avoid is the one who finds me when I'm unraveling. I swipe at my cheeks, but it's useless. I'm fine, I say, my voice raw. You're sitting alone in the dark, crying into the rose bushes. His boots crunch softly on gravel as he approaches. Forgive me if I don't believe you. He sits at the far end of the bench, leaving a respectful space between us. Even at that distance, the bond thrums, easing and tightening in the same breath. His presence feels like a bandage and a blade. We sit in silence for a while. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant pine. Somewhere inside the castle, someone laughs, the sound muffled by stone. What happened? He asks quietly. I could lie. I could say it's nothing, that I'm overwhelmed, that I miss home. But I am so tired of swallowing my own hurt, so it won't inconvenience anyone else. I heard him, I say. Osric, talking with his advisors. Edric's body tenses just enough for me to feel it. He said our marriage is strategically necessary. I continue, each word scraping my throat. And that he has no intention of letting it interfere with his personal life more than it has to. The muscle in his jaw jumps. For a moment, he doesn't speak. When he does, his voice is carefully level. That sounds like him. That's all. Not outrage, not surprise, just quiet confirmation that this is who Osric is and always has been. Did you know? I ask. Yes. Did you ever think to warn me? He exhales slowly. What would you have had me say? By the way, the man you're bound to marry has compartmentalized you into a column on his political ledger. Yes, I snap. Exactly that. He turns his head to look at me. His eyes catch the moonlight, silver threaded through storm gray. I didn't tell you, he says, because I hoped I was wrong, and because I have no right to be the one to plant that doubt in you. You have no right. I agree, bitterness rising like bile. And yet here you are, the only one telling me the truth. His expression flickers. pain and something sharper crossing his face. I would rather you hate me for telling you than resent me for staying silent. I look away, blinking hard. My parents are so proud, I whisper. They think this marriage is the best thing that's ever happened to our family. They keep talking about legacy and honor and duty, and all I can think is, am I the only one who cares if I'm actually happy? No, he says. The word is so quiet I almost miss it. I turn back to him. Then who else does? He holds my gaze, and this time he doesn't look away. The bond swells between us, wild and terrified and greedy. I do, he says. 3 simple words. They land with the weight of a vow. I can feel him then, not just the surface shape of his emotions, but the depth of them. Fury at Osric's casual dismissal of me. Helplessness at his own place in this twisted triangle. A fierce, aching tenderness directed wholly at me, so intense it steals my breath. Edric, I say, my voice barely more than a breath. You can't. I know. He scrubs a hand over his face, looking suddenly, unbearably tired. Moon, help me, Morwenna. I know exactly what I can't do. I can't interfere. I can't speak against my king. I can't take what isn't mine to claim. My throat tightens. Then why are you here? Because I couldn't stay away. The words rip out of him, raw and unpolished. Because watching you try to reach for him, watching you twist yourself into knots, trying to make this work while he keeps you at arm's length, it's the hardest thing I've ever endured. Something inside me fractures at the honesty in his voice. Why? I whisper. His hand curls into a fist on his knee. For a long moment, I think he won't answer. Then he blows out a breath, like a man stepping off a cliff he's been clinging to for too long. Because you're my mate, Morwenna, he says, and you belong to someone else. The world tilts. We've never said the word aloud between us. We've danced around it, buried it under duty and pretense, pretended the pull was something we could outthink. Hearing it spoken now rips away the last of my illusions. Mate, not crush, not infatuation, not even forbidden affection. Mate, my wolf surges to the surface, snarling and joyous and desperate all at once. Ours, she howls. Finally, he sees it. I clutch the edge of the bench to stay grounded. Say it again, I demand, because some self-destructive part of me wants to hear it, to make it real. He closes his eyes. You're my mate. The bond responds instantly, flooding my veins with heat and wild, reckless certainty. Every part of me that has felt wrong since arriving here suddenly makes horrible, perfect sense. I am promised to the wrong man, and I belong to someone else. I finish for him. His eyes open, and the pain in them is a living thing. You belong to yourself, he says fiercely. But legally, politically, yes, to him. Silence stretches, heavy and fragile. What do we do? I ask, hating how small I sound. He lets out a broken laugh. If I had an answer to that, I'd be a god, not a beta. He shifts closer, not touching me, but near enough that our shoulders almost brush. All I know is this. I will not be the one to ruin your life. If you choose him, really choose him, knowing everything, you'll never hear a word from me. I'll lock this down so deep even you won't feel it. The idea of him pulling away like that, of losing this connection even if it's tearing me apart, terrifies me more than the thought of marrying Osric. And if I can't choose him? I ask, my voice shaking. If every part of me is already choosing you? His breath catches. I feel it as much as hear it. Then, he says hoarsely, we're in more trouble than I thought. We sit there, side by side on the cold stone bench, the garden quiet around us. Nothing is resolved. No decisions are made. Duty still looms, enormous and unavoidable. But for the first time, the truth is out in the open, shared between us, instead of festering in the dark. It doesn't make the weight any lighter. It just means we're both carrying it now. The morning after Edric's confession, I wake up convinced it was a dream. For a few blissful seconds, my mind is empty. Then my wolf stretches inside my chest and murmurs, ours, and the memory slams back into place: the garden, the moonlight, his voice raw as he said, "You're my mate." I lie there staring at the canopy, heart pounding, while the full horror of it unfurls. Nothing in the world has changed, and yet everything has. I am still betrothed to the Alpha King. My parents are still in the castle, busy weaving a future around a marriage that feels more and more like a noose. Edric is still Osric's beta, and he is mine. We decide, without speaking, to avoid each other. It goes about as well as everything else in my life lately. The universe, or maybe just palace schedules, seems determined to throw us together. Council sessions, patrol briefings, inspections of the training grounds that I am strongly encouraged to attend. If Osric is the sun around which this court orbits, Edric is its gravity. No matter which path I take, I end up in his pull. We keep our distance like well-trained actors. He calls me Lady Morwenna times in public, his tone bland, his eyes carefully empty. I address him formally, thank him for reports, treat him exactly as I do any other officer. But the bond doesn't care about decorum. It tightens every time he walks into a room, loosens only when he's near. I feel his emotions like weather-mild irritation at a supply issue, amusement at a joke traded with another warrior, a sharp spike of discomfort whenever someone mentions my wedding. Sometimes I catch him watching me. Not often. He's too disciplined for that. But there are moments, the flick of his gaze at the end of a council meeting, the way his shoulders straighten when I enter the training yard, the way his jaw hardens when Osric's hand brushes my arm in a public gesture of affection. Every glance is a cut, every accidental touch, a brand. During one strategy session, our fingers graze as we both reach for the same scroll. We snatch our hands back like children caught stealing sweets, but it's too late. The bond surges, hot and wild, flooding my veins with heat. My wolf presses desperately against my skin, trying to get closer. "Careful," he says under his breath, so soft no one else can hear. "I'm trying," I whisper. His eyes meet mine, and in them I see everything we're not saying. Longing, frustration, terror. Before either of us can break, Osric calls Edric's name, demanding a report, and the moment shatters. By the end of the week, I feel like I'm living with a constant fever. The court notices something. Of course it does. Whispered conversations fall silent when I walk past. Servants dart quick, curious glances between me and Edric. Lyra is forever hovering at my elbow, subtly interposing herself whenever she thinks a situation is getting dangerous. "Someone's going to talk," she murmurs one afternoon as we leave the training grounds. If they haven't already. "They can't talk about something that isn't happening," I say, more sharply than I intend. She gives me a look. "Nothing is happening because you're both too noble and too terrified." That doesn't mean nothing's there. I have no answer to that. The storm finally breaks on a gray, restless morning. Lyra tells me the Alpha King has requested my presence in his private study. Her expression is neutral, her eyes are not. "Do you know why?" I ask. "No," she says. Then, lower, "Be careful." Osric's study is a room I know well by now, books lining the walls, a massive desk piled with meticulously organized documents, windows looking over the eastern forest. When I enter, he's standing by one of those windows, hands clasped behind his back. "Your Majesty," I say, dipping my head. He doesn't turn immediately. "Close the door, Morwenna." I do. The soft click sounds louder than it should. When he finally faces me, his expression is calm, controlled. But there's a tension around his mouth I haven't seen before. "We need to speak frankly," he says. The bottom drops out of my stomach. "All right." He studies me for a long moment, eyes cool and assessing, as if I'm a report he's trying to verify. "There are rumors circulating through the court," he says. "Whispers about you and my beta." The careful neutrality in his voice hurts more than shouting would have. "Rumors," I repeat. "Yes." He tilts his head slightly. "Tell me, are you having an affair with Edric?" The bluntness of it steals my breath. There is no anger in his tone, no jealousy, only the measured, clinical concern of a man troubleshooting a potential political problem. "No," I say, and the word is absolutely devastatingly true. "I'm not." One of his brows lifts a fraction. "But?" I swallow. My heart is hammering, my palms slick. I could lie. I could tell him there is nothing between us, that the gossip is baseless and insulting. It would be easier, cleaner. It would also be pointless. The bond is not going away. And if there is one thing I am tired of, it's pretending truths don't exist because they're inconvenient. "But," I say, voice low, "the mate bond is forming between us." Silence. For the first time since I've known him, Osric looks genuinely startled. It's not dramatic. No gasp, no step backward. Just a flicker in his eyes, a barely audible inhale. "Between you and Edric," he says slowly. "Yes." He turns away, pacing a short, precise line between the window and his desk. I stand there, watching, bracing myself for fury, for accusations of betrayal, for the crushing weight of his authority. What I get instead is calculation. How certain are you, he asks, about the bond? My wolf is certain. There is no other way to say it. I feel him, his emotions, his presence. It's undeniable. He nods once, absorbing that. And Edric? He feels it too, I whisper. I see. He stops pacing and leans against the edge of his desk, crossing his arms. When he speaks again, his voice is thoughtful, almost detached. This complicates matters, but not in the way you might think. Not in the way I break off, incredulous. Osric, your beta is my mate. Yes, he says. And you are my betrothed. The agreement between our families is still in force. The alliance still stands. That is what he cares about. Not my heart, not Edric's, but the ink on those old documents and the delicate balance of power they represent. Do you care at all? I ask before I can stop myself. That the moon chose someone else for me? His eyes cool. The moon chooses many things that are not convenient for rulers. I learned long ago not to let divine whims dictate my policy. My chest feels too tight. This isn't a whim. This is my life. And mine, he reminds me, as well as the lives of thousands who depend on the stability of this throne. He says it so calmly, so rationally. I want to scream. What do you want from me? I ask. Honest answer. He seems to appreciate that. His posture loosens a fraction. I want this marriage, he says. Politically, it's advantageous. It strengthens my ties to your pack, secures resources, and sends a message of unity to our neighbors. Those benefits do not disappear because your soul has unfortunately entangled itself elsewhere. Unfortunately. As if the bond is an inconvenient illness I've caught. And personally? I push, because some part of me still, stupidly, hopes. He considers. Personally, he says, I require a Luna who can perform her duties competently in public. I believe you can. Whether or not there is a passion between us is irrelevant to me. Passion, I repeat. The word feels foreign on his tongue. Morwenna, he says, and there is a hint of impatience now, as if I'm being unreasonable. You knew from the beginning this was a political arrangement. I knew it began that way, I say. I didn't realize you intended to keep it there forever. He exhales, a controlled sigh. I don't have the luxury of indulging in romantic entanglements. My personal needs are already met in other ways. Discreetly, my stomach turns. I don't ask for details. As for you, he continues, and now his gaze sharpens. I will be frank. I don't care who you share your bed with after we're wed, as long as it doesn't become a scandal and doesn't threaten the stability of the court. I stare at him. You don't care. I care about appearances, he says. About loyalty in matters of governance. I do not require exclusivity in matters of the heart or body. If the mate bond is important to you, you may manage it, quietly. Manage it, like a side project. You're suggesting I marry you, I say slowly, and carry on with Edric in secret. If that is what it takes for you to be content enough to perform your role, yes. For a moment, all I can do is stare. He is not joking. He is not testing me. He has calmly, logically, offered me a life where I am his wife in public and Edric's mate in shadows. A life where my children's paternity would be whispered about in corridors, where every touch with the man I actually love would be hidden, guilty, half-lived. A life where I would spend every day pretending. The horror of it hits me in slow, suffocating waves. You realize, I say, my voice shaking, you are asking me to betray both of you. Betrayal is a strong word, he replies. I am giving you permission. That doesn't make it less of a betrayal. I press a hand to my chest, trying to contain the messy, panicked pounding of my heart. To you as my husband, to him as my mate, to myself. He watches me carefully. You think by refusing this compromise you will avoid hurting anyone? No, I say honestly. I think there is no version of this where someone doesn't get hurt. But at least if I choose, if I stand by that choice openly, I can live with myself. You'd throw away everything, he says quietly. The crown, your family's ambitions, the security this alliance would bring, for a bond. For my life, I correct. For the right to live it honestly. Silence falls again, thicker this time. You're emotional, he says at last. I suggest you take some time to think. Speak with your parents, with your advisors. This is not a decision to make in haste. I almost laugh. Haste. As if I haven't been slowly bleeding toward this moment since I arrived. I will think, I say, because it's the only thing I can promise without lying. But you need to understand something, Osric. His gaze narrows. What? If I agree to this marriage knowing what I know now, it won't just be Edric I'm betraying. My throat tightens. It will be myself, and I don't know if I can survive that. He looks at me for a long time. I search his face for any sign of softening, of humanity that exists outside his crown. I will not release you from the betrothal lightly, he says finally. Too much depends on it. But I won't force you to the altar in chains either. Decide carefully, Morwenna. He gestures toward the door. The audience is over. I walk out of his study on unsteady legs, the corridors blurring around me. My mind spins with images, my mother's shining eyes, my father's pride, Edric's expression in the garden when he called me his mate, Osric's calm face as he offered me a lifetime of sanctioned deceit. Lyra finds me halfway to my chambers. What happened? She demands, taking one look at my face. He knows, I say, about the bond, about Edric. She pales. What did he say? I give a short, humorless laugh. He gave us his blessing, as long as I still marry him. Her hand flies to her mouth. You're joking. I wish I were. We reach my door. Inside, I finally let myself sag against the wall, every muscle trembling. So now what? She asks softly. Now what? Now I stand at a crossroads with no good exits. On one path, a crown, my family's unshakable approval, the stability of a kingdom and a marriage built on pretense, where the man I love is relegated to shadows and secrets. On the other, scandal, broken alliances, my parents' disappointment, the risk of upheaval, and the chance to live one honest life with the wolf the moon chose for me. The choice hasn't been made yet, but I can feel it looming, huge and inevitable, like a storm gathering on the horizon. I don't know, I whisper, but whatever I choose, it has to be mine. Because if I surrender that, if I let myself be carried along by other people's plans, other people's pragmatism, then it won't matter whose mark is on my neck, whose ring is on my finger. I'll have lost the only thing that was ever truly mine to give. My mother makes the announcement over dinner, as if she's telling us the weather will be lovely tomorrow. The date is set, she declares, eyes shining. The wedding will take place 1 month from today, at the winter solstice. The hall erupts in congratulations. Goblets are raised, toasts shouted, smiles thrown in my direction like confetti. Osric inclines his head toward me, the faintest of polite smiles on his lips, as if we've both just signed a very advantageous contract. My wolf goes very, very quiet. 1 month, my father repeats, pride warming his voice. You've done well, Morwenna. This will secure our line for generations. I choke down a mouthful of wine. My cheeks ache from smiling. My fingers have gone numb around the stem of my goblet. Lyra's gaze catches mine from farther down the table. She doesn't smile. She just looks at me steadily, her expression a silent question. Are you going to let this happen? The castle transforms overnight. Seamstresses arrive with trunks of shimmering fabrics. Messengers race in and out with replies from invited alphas. The kitchens begin testing menus. The gardens are measured for arches and lanterns. My mother moves through it all like a queen already, orchestrating every detail. You'll wear Aeron blue for the ceremony, she says, laying swatches on my bed. And silver for the banquet. The jeweler is crafting a new circlet just for you. Oh, Morwenna, it will be perfect. Perfect. Everyone is celebrating except me. Osric is attentive, in his way. We walk together more often, escorted by guards and watched by half the court. He asks after my comfort, my schedule, my lessons. He never asks if this is what I want. I never tell him that the closer the date draws, the more my chest feels like it's being slowly crushed. Edric and I do what we promised. We keep our distance. In public, at least. He speaks to me only when duty requires it. His tone even, his posture impeccable. If someone were to watch us from across a room, they'd see nothing unusual. No lingering looks, no shared smiles. But the bond is relentless. It coils tighter as the days fall away, a constant pressure in my ribs. I feel his turmoil as if it's my own guilt, longing, anger flaring and tamped down again and again. At night, when I stare up at the canopy and imagine walking down that long aisle toward a future I don't want, my wolf whimpers, pressing herself against the invisible thread that connects us. 2 weeks before the solstice, I break. Not loudly, not dramatically. There is no scream, no shattered glass, just a quiet, decisive snap somewhere deep inside me, like a bone finally giving way under too much strain. I send Lyra to tell Edric I need to speak with him, privately. Are you sure? She asks. No, I admit, do it anyway. We meet in the gardens because that's where all our worst and truest conversations seem to happen. The moon is nearly full, hanging low and bright over the dark hedges. Frost crunches under my slippers as I walk. Edric is already there, standing by the same stone bench where he told me I was his mate. He looks tired, the lines around his mouth deeper, his hair mussed as if he's been running his hands through it too often. When he sees me, something in his shoulders loosens and tightens all at once. Morwenna? He says softly. The sound of my name in his voice almost undoes me. You heard? I ask. About the date. His mouth twists. Hard not to. The entire castle is buzzing. Everyone's very pleased. Are you? The question hangs between us, unnecessary and essential. No, I say. I'm not. He exhales, white mist in the cold air. Then call it off. It's not that simple. It is, he insists quietly. You open your mouth, you say no. Everything after that is complicated. The choice itself is simple. You make it sound easy. I know it isn't. He looks away, jaw working. I know what it would cost you. Your family's favor. Your pack's standing. Maybe more. I'm not blind to that. Then why? Because, he cuts in, voice rough. Watching you walk into a life that will hollow you out from the inside is killing me. Silence falls. The cold sinks into my bones. I barely feel it. I'm not going to ask you to choose me, he says, quieter now. I won't be that selfish. If you decide to marry him, I'll accept it. I'll step back. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure you're safe and respected. I'll live with the bond tearing me apart if it means your world doesn't burn. Don't say that, I whisper. Don't act like you're some noble martyr. His mouth quirks humorlessly. You'd rather I be a shameless thief and drag you away from all this? Yes, I say, before I can stop myself. The word bursts out of me, raw and aching. Yes, sometimes I do. His eyes flare, silver catching moonlight. We're standing too close now. I don't remember moving, but suddenly I can feel the heat of his body through the winter air, smell pine and steel and him. He swallows. Morwenna, I know what you're trying to do, I say. You're trying to let me go so I don't have to bear the guilt of choosing. You're trying to make it easier. Someone should, he says. Everyone else seems determined to pretend you don't have a choice at all. The bond hums, pulsing with his pain, my fear, our shared wanting. My wolf presses harder, desperate now. I love you, he says, so quietly I almost think I imagined it. Then he says it again, clearer, like he's throwing himself off a cliff. I love you. And I love you enough not to ask you to destroy your life for me. I have never heard anything more beautiful or more intolerable. My throat burns. Do you really think I'll be less destroyed if I walk away from you? He flinches, and I feel it in my own chest, like a mirrored blow. This doesn't have to be your burden, he says. Let it be mine. Marry him. Forget. Don't you dare finish that sentence, I snap. Don't you dare tell me to forget you. His hands flex at his sides. What do you want me to say? Nothing. My voice drops to a whisper. Just stop pretending this doesn't matter to you as much as it does to me. He looks at me then, really looks, and the facade cracks. The desperation I've sensed humming under his skin floods his face every swallowed word, every restrained touch. Every night he's lain awake feeling the same pull I have. It matters, he says hoarsely. More than anything has ever mattered. My heart stutters. The world narrows to the shape of his mouth, the roughness of his breathing, the way his fingers twitch like he wants to reach for me and doesn't dare. Maybe it's the moonlight. Maybe it's the ticking clock of the wedding. Maybe it's just that I am so tired of living on the edge of something and never stepping over. Whatever it is, I move. One step forward, another. The space between us disappears. I tilt my head up, every nerve singing, every doubt screaming, and I kiss him. For a fraction of a second, he's stone beneath my hands, shocked still. Then he breaks. His mouth slants over mine with a hunger that steals my breath. His hands rise to my waist, my back, pulling me closer, closer. as if he's afraid I'll vanish if there's even an inch left between us. The bond bursts into blazing color, heat, and rightness, and the dizzying sensation of finally exhaling after holding your breath for years. It's everything a first kiss should be: messy and breathless, passionate and devastating, wrong by every rule we've been given, and yet, in some deeper, truer place, the most right thing I have ever done. My fingers curl in his hair. He groans softly against my lips, and the sound sends a shockwave through me. My wolf howls her approval, joy and possession, and fierce relief spiraling through us both. We kiss until my lungs burn, until my lips tingle, until the cold no longer registers. When we finally pull apart, we're both shaking. His forehead rests against mine, our breaths mingling in quick, uneven bursts. His hands are still on my waist, mine are on his shoulders. Every point of contact feels sacred. "I'm sorry," I whisper, though I don't mean it. "Don't be," he says, his voice is wrecked. "If that's the only selfish thing you ever do, it won't be enough." I laugh, a broken, wet sound. Tears blur my vision, but they don't feel like defeat this time. They feel like release. "I can't marry him," I say. It's the first time I've spoken the words aloud. As soon as they're out, some locked door inside me swings open. The looming specter of the wedding, the crushing weight of expectation, it all shifts. Still heavy, still frightening, but no longer inevitable. "Morwenna," he cautions. "Think." I have thought. I press my palm flat against his chest, feeling the wild thud of his heart, perfectly echoed in my own. "If I choose duty over this, over us, it won't honor anyone. Not my family, not Osric, not you. It will just give the kingdom 3 miserable people who spend the rest of their lives pretending they're satisfied." He closes his eyes. "Your parents will be furious. They'll survive. Your pack could lose status, protection. Then I'll spend the rest of my life earning it back," I say, honestly, not on the strength of a marriage that was never meant to be. "And Osric?" he asks quietly. "I'll face him," I say. "I'll face all of them. But I'm done sacrificing myself to keep everyone else comfortable." My voice steadies as I speak, conviction hardening from fragile to steel. For the first time since I arrived at Black Moon, I feel like I'm standing on my own feet instead of being carried along by a current I never chose. Edric looks at me like he's seeing something new, something he's been hoping for and dreading in equal measure. "You're sure?" he whispers. "Yes." He laughs then, a soft, incredulous sound, and pulls me into another brief, fierce kiss. "Then whatever comes next," he says against my lips, "we face it together." The fear doesn't disappear, neither do the consequences. But as I walk back into the castle that night, his taste still on my mouth, the bond thrumming warm and steady under my skin, one thing is finally, blessedly clear. The choice has already been made, not by destiny, not by duty, by me. The next morning, I wake knowing exactly what I'm about to do, and that once I do it, there is no going back. I ask the steward to inform my parents I require a private audience, not a request from dutiful daughter to loving family, but from the future Luna they still believe in. It guarantees they come quickly, curiosity sharp as knives. We meet in the Aeron quarters, far from the main flow of the castle. The room is warm, the fire crackling, familiar banners from home hanging on the walls. It's the safest place I can think of, and still my hands shake. My mother is first through the door, wrapped in blue silk, eyes bright. "Is it about the gown?" she asks. If that seamstress ruined the neckline, I swear. "It's not about the gown," I say. My father follows, more reserved, but I see the anticipation in the set of his shoulders. My brother and sister slip in behind them, hovering by the door, sensing a storm but not yet its direction. "What is this about, Morwenna?" my father asks. "We're very busy, you know. There's much to do before the solstice." "I know." I draw a breath so deep it hurts. "That's why we need to talk now, before any more is done for a wedding that isn't going to happen." Silence falls so suddenly I can hear the pop of a log in the hearth. My mother laughs, a thin, incredulous sound. "Don't be dramatic. Nerves before the ceremony are common, dear. You'll settle once." "I'm not nervous," I say, and my voice comes out steadier than I feel. "I'm finished. I can't marry Osric." My father goes very still. "What did you say?" he asks quietly. "I can't marry him," I repeat. "Not. Won't right now. Not. I need more time. I cannot. Not without breaking something inside myself I'm not sure would ever heal." My mother's smile shatters. Is this about cold feet? About expectations? Every bride? This is about the mate bond, I say, because I refuse to hide behind softer words. It didn't form with Osric. Dial, my brother swears under his breath. My sister inhales sharply. My father's jaw clenches. With whom, then? He demands. You already know, I say softly. You felt it, even if you haven't named it. With Edric. My mother's hand flies to her throat. His beta? Morwenna, no. Yes. My eyes burn, but I hold their gazes. We tried to ignore it. We tried to pretend it was nothing. But it's real. He is my mate, and I'm choosing to honor that bond. The word times choosing times hangs heavy between us. My father takes a step closer, fury finally cracking through his composed facade. Do you have any idea what you're saying? What this will cost us? The alliance, the protection, the status? Yes, I say. I've spent every night for weeks thinking about exactly that. Then you're more selfish than I raised you to be, he spits. We sacrificed for you. We shaped your entire life around this opportunity. And you would throw it away for what? Lust? A passing infatuation with the first man who looks at you as more than a title? My wolf snarls at that, but I keep my voice even. This isn't a passing anything. This is the bond the moon gave me. The one everyone always told me was sacred until it became inconvenient. My mother's eyes fill with tears. We didn't do this to hurt you, she whispers. We did it to protect you. To give you a life where you'd never have to worry about safety, about resources, where your children would grow up secure. A gilded cage is still a cage, I say gently. You wanted certainty, I understand that. But I can't live the rest of my life as a symbol while the man I actually belong to stands 3 steps behind my throne. You belong to your family, my father snaps. To your pack. I belong to myself, I say quietly. And I'm telling you what I can and cannot do. My siblings exchange a look. My brother speaks first, voice cautious. Is he good to you? He asks. Edric. Yes, I say without hesitation. He listens to me, challenges me, sees me. He never once treated me like a bargaining chip. My sister bites her lip. And Osric? He's not a monster, I say. He's efficient, detached. He wants this marriage for political reasons and has already offered to turn a blind eye if I take a lover as long as I do my duty in public. My mother closes her eyes, a tear slipping free. Moon above, what you call selfish, I continue, looking at my father, is me refusing to lie to everyone for the rest of my life, including myself. If I marry Osric knowing all this, I will be betraying him, betraying Edric, and betraying the person I am supposed to be. You are supposed to be Luna, my father says coldly. Only if I choose it, I reply, and I am not choosing it, not like this. The hardest part isn't their anger, it's the hurt. My mother looks at me like she doesn't recognize the girl she raised. My father looks at me like I've just set fire to our home. You're destroying everything we've built, he says. No, I say softly. I'm changing it. There's a difference. It doesn't have to be the end of our legacy. It just won't look the way you imagined. My brother, of all people, moves first. He steps to my side, the gesture small but solid. Father, he says, you always told us a leader who ignores the truth because it's inconvenient isn't fit to lead. Morwenna is telling us the truth. We may not like it, but pretending she can marry Osric and be content is foolish. My sister nods, coming to stand on my other side. I don't want a queen for a sister if it means losing you, she whispers, eyes wet. My parents look between the 3 of us, their children forming a quiet line. My mother presses her fingers to her temples. My father's shoulders slump, just a little. I can't say I understand, my mother says at last. I can't say I approve. But you're not that little girl we promised away anymore, are you? No, I say. I'm not. Then do what you think you must, she says, voice breaking. But don't expect forgiveness to come quickly. I'm not asking for quick, I say. I'm asking for a chance, someday, to prove this wasn't a childish mistake. My father doesn't answer. He turns away, staring into the fire like it has answers I don't. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough. If you are determined to do this, he says, do it cleanly. No scandal, no running away in the night. You end it properly. I plan to, I say. Then go, he says. before I change my mind and lock you in your room for a month. It's only half a joke. I leave their quarters with my heart bruised, but strangely lighter. The bridge behind me is smoldering, but it isn't completely burned. Not yet. Osric receives me in the same study where he once suggested I manage my bond discreetly. This time, there are no papers on his desk, no advisors hovering nearby. Just him and me, and the heavy quiet of decisions waiting to be made. You've spoken with your family, he says. It's not a question. Yes. And? They're not pleased, I say. But they understand I'm not asking permission. He studies me, dark eyes thoughtful. You've decided then. I have. I take a breath. Osric, I'm here to formally break our betrothal. There. The words are out, hanging in the air between the future we were supposed to have and the one I'm choosing instead. He leans back slowly, fingers steepled, gaze never leaving my face. For a long moment, he says nothing. I expected as much, he admits. Once you named the bond for what it is, you're not surprised? Disappointed, he says, from a strategic standpoint, but not surprised. You are not the sort of woman who can stomach living a lie forever. It's the closest thing to a compliment he's ever given me. I am sorry, I say, for the political complications, for the trouble this will cause. I'll manage, he says wryly. It's what I do. I hesitate. Do you resent me? For choosing your mate over me? He considers. No. For forcing my hand, perhaps a little. But I won't chain a Luna to my side whose heart is elsewhere. It would be inefficient. I almost laugh. Only Osric could turn my defiance into an efficiency problem. Thank you, I say instead. He waves a hand. I will send a formal notice to your parents and mine. The announcement to the court will say we came to a mutual decision that we realized our priorities lie in different directions. You need not be publicly shamed for doing what half the poets in the world would applaud. Relief floods me, unexpected and sharp. You'd do that. Of course, he says. I still require your family's cooperation. Publicly humiliating their daughter would be a poor opening move. Pragmatic to the end. Osric, I say after a moment, were you relieved? He doesn't answer immediately. Then, to my surprise, he smiles. Not the polite dip of lips I'm used to, but something smaller and more genuine. Yes, he says. I was relieved. I never wanted a true partnership, Morwenna, not the way you clearly do. My relationship with this throne has always been enough for me. You deserve more than that. The admission stings and soothes all at once. Thank you, I say again, and this time it feels less like etiquette and more like truth. When I leave his study, the betrothal that shaped my entire life until this moment is officially over. There is one more person I have to face. I find Edric where I always seem to find him in the spaces between duty and rest. He's on the training grounds at dusk, supervising the last of the evening drills. Warriors disperse as I approach, casting quick glances between us before wisely finding somewhere else to be. He turns when the yard quiets, brow furrowing. Morwenna, should you be out here alone right now? Probably not, I say, but I'm doing it anyway. He searches my face, reading what he can before I speak. Well? He asks softly. It's done, I say. I broke the betrothal. He goes utterly still. The bond flares, a sudden rush of disbelief, hope, fear, all tangled together. You, what? I told my family first, I say. Then Osric, it's over. There will be an announcement soon, something dignified and vague. No one will speak of mate bonds or gardens or almost weddings. He doesn't move toward me right away. I can feel him holding himself in check with the same iron discipline he's always used to stay on his side of the invisible line between us. Morwenna, he says slowly. Do you understand what you've done? What you've given up? Yes. And you're sure? My heart is pounding. But it's not with fear anymore. It's with something wilder. Freer. I didn't give up my life, I say. I reclaimed it. For a second, something breaks in his composure. He strides the last few steps, stopping just in front of me, close enough that I have to tip my head back to meet his eyes. Say it plainly, he murmurs. Once. So I know I'm not dreaming. I smile, small and certain. I chose you, Edric. Us. Whatever that looks like. Whatever it costs. The sound he makes is half laugh, half exhale. His hands rise as if of their own accord, then halt, hovering near my waist. Can I? Yes, I say. He pulls me into his arms like I'm something precious and breakable, and the bond surges, not with the frantic edge it had before, but with a deep, resonant satisfaction that settles into every corner of me. We stand there in the fading light, wrapped around each other in the middle of the empty training yard, and for the first time, I don't feel like I'm stealing anything. We don't become king and queen. Osric keeps his throne and eventually takes a Luna better suited to his particular brand of detached duty. Edric remains beta by choice, content with influence instead of the burden of a crown. I find my own place beside him, not as ornament, but as an active hand in pact diplomacy and governance, visiting villages, negotiating treaties, speaking for those who would never be invited into a council chamber. My family rages, then cools, then learns to live with a daughter who refused to be traded. It takes time, letters, visits that begin stiff and end with quiet, careful laughter. Slowly, they start to see that I didn't destroy myself. I simply refused to erase myself to fit their plans. The story doesn't end with a coronation or a cheering crowd. It ends in quieter moments, Edric and me in the small house we chose on the edge of the forest, maps spread across the table, arguing about patrol routes and trade deals while dinner burns. His hand finding mine under the table in village meetings. My wolf purring whenever he walks through the door. It ends with me standing on the porch at dusk, watching the sun sink behind the trees, realizing that for the first time in my life, the future ahead of me feels like something I chose. And now, it's your turn. Where are you watching from, curled up in bed, on a crowded bus, hiding from your own responsibilities for a little while? And what was your favorite moment in Morwenna's story, the first stolen dance, the confession in the garden, the breaking of the betrothal, or something else entirely?